Good afternoon. Happy Friday afternoon. I hope you guys have enjoyed all of the sessions so far. My name is Kate Atwood, and I'm really here just with the honor to get to speak to Mr. Ozzie Areu, who is really the hottest ticket in the entertainment industry right now. And we're so lucky that he is building his dreams and his visions right here in Atlanta. So welcome.
Thank you.
Ozzie.
Thank you for having me, and I'm so happy to be here.
So I'm going to just do a quick bio, and then we'll get into a few questions. So Ozzie, I think the biggest and coolest thing about what you've started over the past year is that you are officially the first Latino to own and operate a major entertainment production studio in North America. So I think that that is really phenomenal. Many people may not know that you started your career in the entertainment industry as a security guard for Warner Brothers in LA. And from there, you have just worked and hustled and persevered. You ran Tyler Perry Studios for over a decade, where you were produced almost $1 billion in production. And now you've taken your steps to do your own thing and to set forth your own vision. Just a quick start on what brought you to the entertainment industry, and what has that journey been like for you?
Well, thank you for asking. It's something that I fell into. I wanted to be a cop many years ago, and I was waiting for my academy date in LA, and I was looking for a job, and I thought it was going to be a 3 or 4 month job. I got a job doing security at Warner Brothers, and I was working at in the parking lots, just guarding the lot at that time, and I went from there to working at one of the main gates at Warner Brothers, and it was the first season of Friends, and it was kind of halfway through the season. The show was already blowing up, and they said, hey, well, do you want to do security on the set? We need to make sure everybody, I think they had 7,000 to 8,000 people that worked on the lot at that time, and they said, there's so many people that are coming on set, they want to get to see the actors and see what's happening during the shooting. And so they asked if I wouldn't mind, running the 4 doors on that stage 24 at Warner Brothers Studios, and keeping people out. And I said, yeah, of course. And so I did that for a while, and then, right place, right time. I did some things that, I was told later I impressed some of the actors that worked on the show, and Jennifer Aniston asked me if I would.
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston asked me if I would become her and Brad Pitt's assistant at the time. And I had never done that before. I said, yeah, of course I can do that. And she said, look, I know this is something different, but would you consider it? And I said, no, I'll take the job. Thank you very much. And so they hired me, and I worked with them for about 5 years. And then I left there. Then I was very fortunate and lucky again to work for somebody else that was just amazing, and that I learned a lot from, Ellen DeGeneres. Spent a couple years working for Ellen DeGeneres, and then I always wanted to, produce and, create content. And then at that point, Tyler had already come out with his first 2 films, and I'd interviewed with a bunch of different people, and, and I had a few job offers on the table. And then from there, I ended up taking the job for him. I started off as his assistant, and then a year after that, he promoted me from assistant to company president. So within a minute or two, I went from one of the lowest employees in the company to the #1 employee in his right hand. And then, it was an amazing 13 years, and I learned a lot and had a lot of fun, and was just on that rocket of a trajectory that Tyler is on.
And so as Tyler moves to his new location down at Fort Mac, is that when you kind of set your sights on? So Areu Brothers Studios is the old Tyler Perry studio campus in the Greenbrier neighborhood. And I just want to know from you, what was the big driver to say, okay, now's the time for me to step out on my own and really go forth and create the vision that I want to have? So,
when he bought Fort McPherson, I was with them for probably 10 months or a year after that. And so he is 330 acres, building out his property. I think he finished earlier this year the final stage. He has 12 sound stages, and he was building out his new world, his canvas, as we call it, over there. And he was in the process of selling the studio. And my older brother, Mario, was still operating it and renting it to outside productions. So my younger brother, Will, and I were still with Tyler at Fort McPherson. And I just was pulling out of the studio, his old studio one day, and we had just shown the property to a client, and to somebody that wanted to buy it. And I got to the gates as I was pulling out, and I just said, well, why don't I buy it? And then I quickly realized that I couldn't afford it. And then I talked to a friend that was with me at the time, and I said, well, it's obviously I can't afford it, but I think that I can really get the right people to get behind me and rally behind my vision and what I want to do. I just couldn't let the studio go to anybody else, and even more so if it was, to take away, all the things that Tyler had done there. I mean, he had, up until the time he moved, he shot 99% of everything he had created at that studio.
Yeah.
And being with him on the ground floor, walking around as he's talking about designing and adding stages and backlot, it just really made sense that I had to do whatever I could. And then I just felt like, if not me, then who? And if not now, when?
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about that vision, because you guys really kind of came out of the gate, pun intended, I guess, with the mandate that you really wanted to empower women and minorities in your new entertainment hub and the vision that you had. Tell me about that.
So being with Tyler, and he's the kind of guy that's always, telling everybody around him, dream big, no dream is too big, spread your wings, how can I help you, et cetera, et cetera. And seeing what he had done and the content that he created, and how the stories that he told for the African American audience, and for all audiences, commercially around the world, I felt like, all right, maybe I can do something like that as well. I've been sitting on the sidelines for a long time. Women and people of color have been underrepresented in so many ways for so long, and I felt like, if I'm not part of the solution, then I'm part of the problem. And so with that being said, I said, let me create a mandate where I'm going to get behind women and people of color, both in front and behind the camera, and support them more than just kind of, helping them get a project or, their vision off the ground, but actually having our entire organization, which is built around, all forms of content, music, and technology, because they all work so well and the natural fits with each other. How do we build an organization and a media company where, our ecosystem champions everything that's going on within our organization? So that really, really inspired me, and then it was just about building the right team.
Yeah, and obviously Georgia's rise, and you being at Tyler Perry Studios, and certainly Tyler Perry was a huge catalyst to Atlanta and Georgia becoming a major hub for film production. But we have incentives, infrastructure, talent is the next big milestone that I think a lot of people feel that we have to figure out. I mean, we have people from all over the United States. Were you ever like, maybe I should do this in LA?
No.
Can you talk to a little bit
Sure.
about the decision of why Atlanta?
Well, I say, first of all, I love LA. I still have a little bit of family there, and LA will always be very close to my heart, but I've been here for 13 years, and this is my home now. Most of my friends are here now, and what's interesting is not just the new friends that I've created, but I have many, many friends from LA and New York who've actually moved here because of the entertainment community that is here, and the amount of content that's being created here. So I felt like, all right, having the community here, having the relationships that we have here, and Georgia, like you mentioned, we have a really good tax incentive program. It's back in the day when Tyler was doing his stuff here, there's 4 or 5 projects a year here, and 3 or 4 of them were Tyler's. And then as the crew base grew, which was very important, and it's very it's important for outside productions for Georgia to be that production friendly city. And with the incentives, now that the crew's here, there's a lot of A-list talent that's actually moving here as well, so both in front and behind the camera. It just, for me, it was an organic fit to say, I couldn't do this anywhere else but here. And then it just became a turnkey scenario because it was really just kind of, you know, one company moving in, out, one company moving in, and you know that same day it was a turnkey scenario. So we were in, and you know we didn't miss a beat.
And I think Atlanta can be a real beacon for other cities outside of LA or New York, the traditional entertainment hubs, to start to think about the creative economy and how it's more accessible to really, I think, have a prosperous, have it be a prosperous part of the economy in your region. You recently were in the headlines for purchasing Indavo, an OTT tech platform, which has really, I think, getting into tech, and tech finally kind of entering film and TV and distribution. Talk a little bit how that may make building creative hubs more accessible than in the past era where it kind of did have to be anchored in LA and New York.
Good question. You know, art and entertainment happen all over the world. So it doesn't have to just be LA and New York. And look at Georgia. Georgia's a great example of what's been happening here over the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And so these types of creative communities can be built all over the world through storytelling. You know, Georgia being a classic example of, you know, communities that have done things right. I think that's a big game changer for not just you know, for the people that are working here, but the economic development, that entertainment how that dollar travels through, you know, entertainment to hotels, restaurant, other jobs, different services. Because, you know, it's not just when TV and film is happening, there's construction and all that money that's being made. I think last year there was almost $9.5–10 billion impact in Georgia, and I think the year before it was very close to that as well. So the dollar travels around very well, and you know, through art and entertainment, you know, connecting communities is kind of one of the reasons why we joined in as well.
And I think, you know, to build upon that, you recently were qualified really as the first entertainment venture, if you will, for the federal opportunity zones, which is super, super remarkable. And in fact, I think your partner, Steve Glickman, was here already this week.
Yeah.
I mean, that almost just puts the gas pedal on how you can really use these opportunities to make sure it's not just about necessarily the talent that you think traditionally of in film, but how you're going to use your hub and your companies to make sure that it's impacting the people right in the very community. So can you talk a little bit about, you know, why you were really excited to make that decision, and then what that means going forward for the Greenbrier community?
Sure. So I was at the end of purchasing the property from Tyler, and when the Federal Opportunity Zone was announced late last year, I think it was end of October, beginning of November. And so what that did for us was, once we heard about it and we did a little bit of research, you know, we felt like, wow, we wanted to do a lot of things and really connect with communities and create jobs through content and entertainment, and really be a studio that was more about inclusion as opposed to exclusion. We want to open up our doors to the youth and the communities so that they can come in and, you know, hopefully have that thought of, hey man, if I see this, hopefully I can be it, so to speak, and be around the talent and get inspired as people like myself did as little kids. And so when I heard about it, I immediately reached out to a friend and another advisor who was also a former advisor for President Obama. And I said, look, you know, just heard about the Federal Opportunity Zone. This guy, Steve Glickman, created it, et cetera, et cetera. How do I get in touch with him? Can you help me? And he said, yeah, I know him, and, you know, we'll set something up. So we got together and I shared our vision and what we wanted to do, and he, you know, he was really taken back by it and thought it was something that would really benefit communities and impact them on many levels. And so I said, look, I'd love for you to kind of support our vision, and here's what we're doing at the studio, et cetera, et cetera. He spent some time coming to the studio, and we said, let's do this together. And he said, let's do it. So I was able to bring on 2 former President Obama advisors to now advise our organization. We felt like, go to the top, go to the best. We have an amazing team that we're building. And the Federal Opportunity Zone is an amazing vehicle also for investors, because what it does is it allows investors who have cap gains to invest into companies or organizations that are located in Federal Opportunity Zones. And so if they have cap gains, instead of paying those cap gains are deferred. They use that money to invest in an opportunity in an opportunity zone. And then if they keep that money in there for 8 or 10 years, they get a discount on that. And then any time they get out after that point, they pay 0 taxes on their cap gains when they exit. So for us, we are going to be able to do something really small and take much longer to do it. And that really just put rocket fuel under what we were going to do, and then to be able to bring him on, the foremost expert in the nation, to be part of our team and to help us, create that community and that ecosystem at Areu Brothers Studios in Greenbrier. For us, it was just like, thank you so much. I was like, perfect scenario, perfect vehicle, and then for our investors, it also allows them to understand how to do those things. So not just in Federal Opportunity Zones working with us, but anywhere that they can make economic impact for those communities.
Yeah, and I love this story because, and I know it's just getting started, but for the full circle moment of, we're here to talk about being smart as a city and really, I think, finding that balance of high tech and humanity. And for somebody who wanted to be a cop and showed up to do your job and do your job well as a security guard, but really demonstrating how much mobility can be in this industry if we're intentional about it, and I know there's a lot of industries, and I know there's a lot of conversation in cities across America that, income mobility is tough. It's tough to do. The tech era has made it harder because there's a lot more kind of training and skill training. But I think for you as somebody who is really walked the walk in terms of building your career and working, so hard to see that come true, to now be giving that back and being very intentional about it, is to really, really be commended. And
thank you.
I think as somebody who just, likes to be bold in my own career, and I know we have a lot of people in the audience too, what would you say are just kind of like your 3 biggest value points, the 3 things that you look back at your career and say, because of these values, it's really why I believe I can sit here today?
Well, I'd say 1, passion. Every job I've had that passion for it, no matter what it was, whether it was, working security or, being Tyler's assistant or any others. I've done all the coffee runs and all those things, and I like people. I like taking care of people. I like supporting people. So, that passion is it's just kind of who I am when I'm into something. Like, I'm all in. Like, I love hard. I go hard, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So passion is one, I would say. I'd say perseverance, because, things aren't always easy. They're not impossible, but sometimes they can be difficult. But there's always a way to figure something out. So I'd say perseverance and really fighting through obstacles that come all the time, and wall pops up, and instead of trying to figure out how do you go right through it, sometimes there's easy ways to maneuver around it. And then I'd have to say maybe guts, because to do some of the things I felt like I've done, from moving on from some of the prior positions that I had, because I believed that much in myself and some of the things that I wanted to do in life. And then, you know, working for somebody as amazing and as special as Tyler is, and how he's been to me and my family, to just one day say, you know what, I love this, I love you, I wanted to be here until I was 75 with you, but I feel like this is something that I need to do. You know, I can't stay, you know, silent anymore. I have the ability to now do some really special things, and just like Tyler, you've given me that hand up, and you've blessed so many people in your world and throughout your career and your life. Well, I want to have that ability now. I know how the impact was when you celebrated me and championed me and said, let's go, kid, we got this, let's do this. I trust you. I know you don't have all the answers. I know you don't know all of this stuff, but I know that you'll figure it out. And I know you're smart enough to make some really good decisions, and you're smart enough to know what you don't know. It's definitely been a wild ride, and, you know, again, moving on from somebody that I admired so much, you know, for me it was just, all right, you know, I had to be passionate, I had to believe in myself, and I had to have some really big guts, and, you know, then it was an interesting year getting to where we are now, but we're super excited as to where the future leads, and we're going to be doing some really cool things here in Georgia.
Yeah. Well, I have no doubt that you are going to achieve all that you imagine, and most likely more, because that's usually how it works. But in the meantime, and change lives and change the world. And I think that's, we need leaders like you that keep those two things, both the vision and the moral compass, in check.
Well, thank you. I mean, you know, I'm just jumping into the game. There's, you know, millions of people that have been doing their own thing, you know, some smaller pieces, and some people that have a little bit more impact or influence, you know, they do some bigger things. And, you know, for me now it's like, all right, they've been leading the way, I'm gonna jump in, figure out what I can do, me and my organization can do to support and champion some of the things that are important to people like me.
Yep.
And I'm excited about that.
Well, awesome. We are too. We can't wait to see everything that happens in the near future and in the years to come. So thank you so much. I know you are a very, very busy man, so we appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you, Kate.
Yep.
And thank you all for coming and listening.